Hi, I'm Kamakshi Misnara. I'm open source software evangelist. This is actually continuation. This is not actually continuation to my previous video. In my previous video, actually, I talked about how to understand two very important objects called window and document. Actually, I need to talk about. I should continue my talk with some other example, but I thought I should speak a particular concept called advanced functions in JavaScript, namely map, filter, reduce, because these are, I think I already talked about map and filter in one of my videos, but I thought I should have continued this discussion for a couple of sessions. So in this video, I just wanted to give you some certain idea about how to make use of these functions. Usually map, filter, reduce are not new functions in JavaScript. They're already there in rest of the programming languages like Java, Python, Ruby. Every programming language has got these functions. These functions are highly useful as by the case, depending on the type of the process that we would like to perform on a given data object. In Python, actually, we refer them. We use all these functions together with lambda functions. When we use these map, filter, reduce, you know, I don't know what to say, like the functions with lambda functions. But in JavaScript, we can use these advanced functions together with arrow functions. So that is actually the thing. So I'm going to explain these three functions. Map, reduce, filter, map, filter, reduce, with the help of some certain examples. Like for each, I would like to talk about numerical as well as text-based processing or textual processing. I don't know. I can call textual or text-based or something like that. So for the first one is going to be the map. So let me explain. You already have a particular object called nums in my workspace. This is just nothing but an array. Now I'm going to show you how to process this array. Now comes the actual discussion. What are the differences between this map, filter, reduce? Suppose we can process this array in different ways. Suppose if I want to process each element individually and by iterating through this array, then I need map. Okay. But if I want to process this, each element together with other elements, then I need reduce. And in all cases, we are going to loop through these elements. And in filter, we'll be having an essential aspect called condition. We'll check a condition and try to process it and then make use of the data. So coming to the first one, map. So for all these three functions should be used with a dot, okay, together with an object. So here the object is nums. I'm going to process the data inside this array called nums. So in which case I should write nums dot and then map. And then let's say, for example, I want to square these elements. Okay, in which case what I do, I just call it some certain element. It's just an abstract. You can call it as a E or a element or EL or whatever it is. X, it works. Okay, for every element. So I'm going to use this. I don't know, for unknown reasons, I always put that E, and for it, make every element to rise its, square it. So I'm just going to square. So when I press, so what we are doing, what actually I'm doing here is actually I'm taking each and every element in this array and then I'm squaring it. So in the same fashion, you can just multiply each and every element with 2. Okay, you can actually add an element with 2, and then you can also subtract 2 from each and every element. So here, if you observe very carefully, what we are doing here is, by using map function, is we are processing each and every element individually. That is very important. Individually, by iterating through this array. Okay, suppose if you have letters, okay, let me show you. No, you don't have letters. You got, suppose I want to process each and every element. I may not be able to process. The map is not useful to process every element together with other element. That is not the case. Okay. So map function, precisely speaking, it is just a combination of the for loop and data processing logic. A logic which involves looping. So instead of a loop, we use, so map, what happens, it just gets this logic, whatever the logic, multiplications are, fraction, addition are, your logic is being done on each and every element of this base object, which is an array. Okay, I don't know if I can call an array as an object or not, because object is referred to kind of what do you call dictionary in Python kind of thing. So now that is actually, you can suppose I want to put a colon after each and every letter. Okay, it is, I might as well do like this. Okay, element, I can say console log element plus, so just as usual. So these are the things which we discussed in one of the earlier. So now you see every element is being concatenated with I mean, it has got it is enclosed with a semicolon, and it is iterated through all these elements, something like this. Now coming to the filter, it is actually a scenario where we might require condition. So we need a loop. We need to loop each and every element, loop through each and every element in a given array or object, but we'll be checking a condition. So let's say, for example, we got nums. When I say filter, suppose let's imagine that I want to check, let's say I want to divide each and every element and find out which is an even number, kind of thing. So for element inside these nums, check if this is divisible by 2, and then give me only those elements which are divisible by 2. Okay, so I think, so if it is divisible by 2, then it comes like, so if that is equal to 0, then give me those values. So there are 2 elements which is divisible by 3. When we divide it with 2 and divide each element by 2, and this is what is actually the strategy behind finding an even number. Okay, otherwise it will just give, if it is true, then give this is actually trying to find the odd number, so which means this is actually a condition. So this is true only for 1, 3, 5. Okay, not for 2, 4. So if it should be true for 2, 4, then we have to enclose is equal, we have to write it as element percentile 2 is equal to 0, something like this. Okay, so this is actually the filter. And for letters, maybe I don't know, like I can find a condition like if element, for every element, arrow function, if element is not equal to, let's say it's not equal to a, then maybe you can I can write console, sorry, I'm a very bad typist, log le, can I say le, yeah, le, else console log, it is not a, something like that. It's a bullshit example, just don't care about this. Now you see it is not a. Oh, sorry, it's not equal to, I think I did a mistake here. It should be conditional. I wrote it as I'm writing inside Python. If it is not equal to, here it should come. Okay, now it is not a. This is nonsense. Give me element, else console log element. If the LA is not equal to A. Actually, I did a very small, mindless. It is not equal to. It's not true. It is equal to. If the element is equal to A, then give the element. Otherwise, it is not A. So that should be correct. I don't know why I used not. You see A, and then it is not A. Something like that. So this is actually text. Now going to the last one, reduce. This reduce is a peculiar advanced function which is used See, the first two, map and filter, these are individual. The processing it individual. We are processing each and every element using iteration. By iterating the base, data object. Okay, here in this case it is actually an array. So now reduce goes like this. It has iteration. We are going to iterate each and every element inside that particular array or object, but the logic is meant for any two consecutive or other elements within that object or list. So now suppose if I want to perform sum of all the elements in a given array, so it is not possible for me to do that by using map or filter, but reduce is very much useful. So first let me show you that on numbers, nums. As usual, we have to use the name of the array and then reduce. Here what happens for element, here comes the kind of x comma y. Let me say for every two elements in this object, sorry, I don't know why I'm calling object, it is an array. Okay, nums reduce x for any two elements. Now what you do is make an addition. Okay, now here comes the confusion. So this is where I was not able to follow the logic, the usage of this particular function reduce. Here comes, we have three different options here. Okay, what is going to be the initial value? If you see here IntelliSense, JavaScript is showing us like you have to define something called, if you don't do anything, so the default it is just going to take 0. Okay, default value will be 0. Suppose if I use 0, same 15 is going to come here. You see here, you will see kind of transparent, the number displayed a little transparent compared to the original. If I press, it will be the number with original color, otherwise it is transparent. Now if I use 1, the initial value is going to be 1 and the sum is getting added by 1 additionally. Now the sum is not 15 this time, this is going to be 16. If you leave it like this, it is empty. So what we are saying is, you just create an object, okay, and that should be just an object. Add that. So this addition is performed on each and every number inside this array, and the resultant resultant output is just going to be the object, which is concatenated number, which is the number. Which has all the numbers inside this array. A number which is combination of all the numbers inside this array. Now, at this point in time, for example, if I say, let's say, for example, if I say comma, okay, you're just going to, the initial object is going to see. So why I'm dedicating a little more time for this discussion is that this is where the confusion involves. Why do you need this particular part of the reduce function? Okay, if you just leave, this is by default it is going to have 0, 0, and now that sum is going to be accurately 50. And for any other value, it is just going to add an initial value. This is just the initial value, that's all. Okay, if you add 2, 15 plus 2, 17. If you put 3 here, 15 plus 3, something like that. If you put comma here, and this is just going to be the combination of comma together with all the letters inside. So now this nums is not this one is not a number. This is, since I used a string operation here, so this number is converted into a string, and this is combined, this 1 2 3 4 5 combined with, because I'm using plus here, this plus works as a combining. It is just going to, whenever we use plus, that is just going to combine the left and right side of that plus, letters of that plus, and then it will retrieve. So here obviously this plus is just going to return me 1 2 3 4 5 as a unique string, a string of all the numbers. When I put comma here, that comma is just going to just go there and sits very first inside that string. Okay, if I put 0 here, dot here, it is going again. It is going. JavaScript is going to think that I want to do some string level processing, text processing, and it adds that dot to the very first position of the string, something like that. So if you put 0 here, it is just going to yield you the addition. If you put 1 here, that 1 is being added to the rest of the number addition, because it already added the number. And if you put 1 here, it is going to add this 1 to the existing sum. And if you use empty brackets, I mean square brackets, it's just going to get back the list array. So that resultant thing is going to be the array. If you use, this is just an object, so these curly braces are used for the objects, so that is why this is just going to get us back the the result will be an object, and that object has the collection of all these numbers, something like that. Okay, at this point in time, suppose if you like say kind of I want to multiply. Okay, I want to multiply each element with the other element. So now I simply can put that multiplication symbol, and then I can come here and see. If I put 0, it is just going to be 0, because that resultant 1 2 2 2 2, all these numbers are multiplied each other, and the result is being, I don't know why this. So that result is being retrieved. I mean, returned to the console. Now, here, suppose if you put 0, that is going to be 0. Why? Because we are multiplying that 120 with 0. And if you put 1, this is actually the appropriate action. So we can just use 1 here instead of. So if you just use nan, because that multiplication is not going to work for the string. I mean, text cannot be. So I'm telling here that plus works as concatenation. I mean, all the numbers will be combined, but multiplication is not going to work. So anything other than 0 or 1, the JavaScript is going to treat this array for take this array granted for text-based processing, not for the numerical processing. So this is just I want. Suppose I want to. Let's say, for example, I have letters, right? I will add few more letters. Let's see how reduce works. Let us change. Yeah, I already have them. No, this is not what I. Letters is equal to. So here, what I do is, I'll just use few letters. This time I repeat the letters, okay, and then I'll try to count these letters, okay, with some certain logic. So now I think this is sufficient. Let me letters. Now I got the letters. Now what I'm going to do is that I want to count how many of A's are there, how many of B's are there. See, in normal, circumstances, what I need to do is for let I is equal to 0, and then so this is how I should use a loop, and then I need to define one more kind of. But we can do all that with the help of reduce. So with reduce, what I can do is, so that I can come here, let us reduce. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create an object, and that object is going to be like this, a comma b for every consequent elements inside this. Now if let's say not a n b, okay, and then what you do is, if a particular letter is not there, then take that particular instance of suppose if A is not there, then the object which we are going to create is going to be 1. It is just going to have 1, and then else, okay, if already that letter is there, okay, and then create an object simply by adding a number. So let's see what's going to happen. Okay, and now comes the so we still have to Now that is just going to be give me back my. So there is an error here. What is there? Why I'm getting? Oh, I have to return a b. Give me that object back. Now close this, and then I want the object. Please be cautious. I want the object. So that is why I'm using this. I can't use 0. I can't use 1, and all. That is why I'm spending a lot of time. And okay, so this is not just going to get me back array radius is of. So why? Because actually the problem is this. I want the object, not the the ingredients of the object, something like this. So now you see there are 3 A's, 3 B's, and 2 C's and 1 D. Suppose if let's say let me define an object for pets. Okay, I have dog, cat, and then let's say kind of okay, let me repeat this. I don't know what pets I want to have, and then again kind of I copy, but this time I'll see some random instances of pets. Now the same logic I'm going to use. This time it is not letters, but they are going to be pets. So how many of dogs and how many of cats are? So there are 3 dogs and there are 2 cats or something like that. So this is actually the way we try to use these advanced functions inside JavaScript, and this is one of the essential aspects in this programming language. Okay, so that's all. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching my video. Stay tuned for the new content. Please subscribe to my video channel and also press the like button. Thank you once again.